All right, kids. Unhappy Wednesday. Coming to you live from our humble abode here. This is, well, it would be unhappy in the NP, but unfortunately, Mason is having his Wi-Fi is completely down. So he tried to come on via his hotspot. It was very, very choppy. It looks like I actually might be a little choppy here as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. But we are coming to you live from our humble abode here. So it'll be unhappy minus the MP tonight, unfortunately. Was looking forward to his insight on the end of the Birds season and where we go for offensive coordinator. But we'll link back up again another time and we'll go back over it. Look, the season's over, so this is the most important thing on the radar right now for the Birds. But anyways, we thank you for joining us tonight from wherever you may be and whatever service, whatever device you're using to stream us on YouTube. So please pull up a chair, turn up the volume if I'm not quite loud enough. Use the company dime if you're still stuck at work. Crack open a cold one if that's your thing on a Wednesday night. And let's try to have some fun as we put an end to day 3 of this week's hostage situation and look forward to tomorrow being Friday Eve. What up, Keenan? How we doing, my friend? Good to see you. Folks, I wish we were here under better circumstances, but unfortunately the football gods just were not in our favor this year. I'll be dead up honest with all of you. I had us ticketed for getting bounced in the division round. And to me, it didn't matter whether we were on the road or at home for that game. I did not think we were getting past the second round, not with the way this offense had played. I did not expect much from the offense. You guys remember the show last week, those of you who were with us. I was optimistic, but cautiously optimistic. And the optimism was coming a lot from, if you remember, the banged-up 49ers roster, right? Reserve linebackers, no Bosa, their number one receiver going into the game being Juwan Jennings. And then, lo and behold, Kittle gets hurt early too, and we still just cannot pull it off, thanks in large part to the stagnant offense that we've seen all year long, unfortunately. So here we are. Season ends in massive disappointment. Yeah, especially at home. You don't want to lose that game at home. Look, the Packers put up a better fight than I thought they would against the Bears. To their credit, of course, they collapsed at the end, but I did not think we would be getting out of Chicago with a victory. I just didn't. The way our offense has been all year, I just saw that as a loss. And it could have been the Rams or whoever coming to Philly second round, and I would have still had us losing. Just because I think once you get to that, we didn't stack up well against the rest of these folks. So way too much talent on the offensive side of the ball to be that bad. And so the Birds come right out. I know a lot of people were clamoring for it on Monday. Hey, why does Patullo still have a job? Yada, yada, yada. Well, lo and behold, yesterday, bam, Patullo's out the door. And I would tell you that's a pretty quick hook after a late Sunday loss, right? So here we are. We are on search for a new offensive coordinator. Thank God. What do we got here? Keenan Harmon, the most expensive offseason in the league, got handed their testicles. The most expensive offense in the league got handed their testicles by a bunch of practice squad players. Yeah, it was pathetic. Scott Calcaterra in the room. Howdy, peeps. What's up, my friend? Hope all is well, staying warm. It is starting to get cold out here again after we had a nice little snap of warmer weather. But let's get the sponsorship out of the way, and then we're going to get down to the fun stuff here. You guys going to help me fill the hour here. I'm starting to feel a little under the weather. I don't have Mason this week, unfortunately, as I said at the start of the show. Get some Wi-Fi issues, and apparently his home Wi-Fi is out. And so he was trying to use his mobile hotspot. I've tried to do that before as well. It doesn't really go well when you're trying to stream. So he did come on, and we tried to give it a shot, but there was a good it was a 5 to 8 second delay in between me talking and him actually hearing what I was saying. He was having a hard time with all of it, and his picture was very distorted and everything too. So it's a bummer, but we'll get him back next week to go back over this again. Hopefully by next week when the two of us are on here, we're talking about how we're going to look going forward under our new offensive coordinator. But Lou Mancini, as he joins, we will get to Michelle's favorite part of the show, and she's not over there. Hey everyone, we are proudly sponsored by Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, located at 2740 South Front Street in Philadelphia. Just minutes away from the sports complex, Cheerleaders brings you the area's most beautiful women on 5 different stages. Open 7 days a week from noon until 2 a.m. and until 4 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. For group information, call 215-467-1980 and reserve a private booth or party package. Also offering free parking, a full menu, daily drink and food specials, and a premium selection of cigars and a cigar lounge. If you're looking for a place to watch your favorite sporting event, and well, it's going to be a minute now, head on over to Cheerleaders and enjoy the 75-foot HD TV wall, as well as HD TV screens throughout the entire club. Once again, everybody, that is Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, located at 2740 South Front Street in Philadelphia. Call 215-467-1980 for all of your group and party information. Folks, as always, the bottom of your screen, greenlegion.com, right there. You will not find a better way to do your birds away trips. But we don't just stop there, folks. Come this spring, the Green Legion will be running a trip to Clearwater for Phillies spring training. This is March 6th through 9th. The flights are sold out, but you can self-travel. This is game tickets, charter bus to and from the Phillies game, 3 nights at Shepherd's Resort. Those of you that have been down to Clearwater before, you know where we're talking about. 3-hour open bar at the Boxer, the Brown Boxer, on Friday night. And, of course, the coveted 3-hour Green Legion tailgate at Baycare Ballpark. Phillies face stickers for all your kids and whoever else wants to do that. The menu for your tailgate and pep rally will be coming out soon enough. So, if that's your thing, head on over to greenlegion.com, click on trips and tailgates, click on away, and get yourself signed up. Like I said, you'll have to self-travel. The flights are sold out, but sounds like a great time for all you Phils fans out there, so hop on board. As we look towards next football season, which, let's face it, us as Birds fans, that's what we've got to look forward to now. Some off-season stuff that I don't want to steal all the thunder of because I want to save some for Mason next week, but we are going to talk some of it. Apart from that, we got a pretty good we got a nice little slate of away games next year. Some pretty cool travel options for you if you've not gone out with the Green Legion before, or if you have and you're just looking to book another one. We are in Arizona again next year. I will tell you, we did that trip in 2022. That one is fantastic. That is actually where we were when the idea for the Midwest Eagles Nest was pretty much spawned, and the future vision that we're trying to put in place currently here. But you stay out in Scottsdale; it's beautiful. Of course, travel to the game can be a little long because you got to go across the Metroplex and everything. State Farm Field, not much to brag about. However, the tailgate at Salt, oh my holy God, was the food amazing or what? Don't want to miss that one if that's your thing. Head on out. Where else are we next year? We're also in Nashville. I will tell you, this is the one that you will get to hang with Unhappy and Michelle if you want to come and hang with us. We will be on that trip in Nashville along with some of our folks here in the Midwest. The Eagles Nest. We're also at Chicago next year, which, depending on time of year, could be a really cool trip. And also drivable for us, which means it might be a second opportunity to hang with us. And then, of course, there's the bus trips to the Giants, the bus trip to Commodes. There is the ever awesome trip to Dallas, which I still cannot believe I had to give up this year. I was disappointed. Quimby was disappointed, which made it so much worse. But work was what it was at the time, and still continues to be, unfortunately. But that is that tailgate there is unmatched. It is absolutely amazing. The Nashville trip, if you've not been on that one, wait till you see the details for that tailgate. I am not going to spoil that for the Green Legion. I'm just going to tell you, if you were looking to go to Nashville, jump on board when that early bird comes out in March. All right. So you guys all know the early bird stuff usually in March, and then the schedule release early May, about a week or so after the draft, and then you can fire away. But yeah, some pretty cool destinations. Also at San Francisco next year, so Alcatraz becomes an option. Vineyards out there in the Bay Area, and at Jacksonville. I don't know if that's really your thing. I hear horrible things about the city, but I guess if you had to check that stadium off your list, no better way to do it than with the Green Legion, folks. Longest tenured and the unquestioned best in the business. GreenLegion.com. Get over there, book it. All right. That's the business end of the stuff. What is going on over here? Josh in the room. What's going on? We're excited to talk about the offseason moves. Yes. Yes, we are. Russ Taylor, I got the Wing Bowl shirt from cheerleaders. Very good. Lou Mancini. Adam, your foe in Boston just got a hell of a pitcher in Suarez. Hated to see him leave. Yeah, not happy about that. Plenty of time for baseball. This week won't be the time, but we will get to baseball. You guys know that. And at some point, I'm going to get back and talk to Chris and Lou, and we'll start working back to a little bit of heart of the order as well, as the three of us have time available. Keenan Harmon, Pam and I had the world's best Chinese takeout in Chicago. The pizza sucked, though. Keenan, tell me where you went for your pizza. Now, look, anybody who's been to Chicago, it is not like New York style, right? It's not your thin crust. It's the thick crust, but sauce on top, very thick. A lot of people eat it with a knife and fork. But when done right and the sauce is good, it is still a fantastic pizza. So if you think it sucked, was this just because you didn't like the big, huge, thick crust, or was the pizza just shit in general? Inquiring minds want to know. Scott Calcaterra, hold up. I lived in Jacksonville for 8 years and a former Jags season ticket holder. Jacksonville is a great town. Yeah, mixed reviews, brother. I guess you could probably say that about any city. Look, if you had to rank the away trips next year, at the top of it would be your Nashville, San Francisco, Chicago. Behind that, you'd have Dallas. I'm just saying, as far as away games next year, if you were looking to do a trip, Jacksonville's probably not the highest on the radar. I guess that's the best way to put it. One thing is for sure, we don't have to play at Tampa Bay week 3 next season. That streak finally breaks. There's some good news. All right. We also got good news yesterday, right? And it did come quick, right? I know people didn't think it was quick enough. You were looking for him to be fired Monday. I thought it was on the table to make him walk home from the game on Sunday evening. And if he could have made it through that crowd without getting torn to pieces, maybe you think about letting him stay on staff. But be that as it may, Kevin Patullo was canned yesterday. And so that reign of terror comes to an end, right? We don't have to look at that stagnant, just remedial, elementary, uncreative offense anymore. And all of the reports you're seeing right now are that the Eagles are going, well, let me back up. The fact that the firing came quickly, right? And I will tell you, doing it on Tuesday morning after losing late afternoon, early evening on Sunday, that's a pretty quick hook. It is. Now, it was necessary, don't get me wrong. And Nick Sirianni can say whatever he wants to say. I give him credit for the statement and all that stuff, saying that he, it was his decision. Look, we all know that some of this decision, at least in part, came from above Nick's head. And now the search moves on. And being that that hook was very quick, I don't know how all of you feel, but the fact that it happened that fast tells me that the Eagles have a set of target, have a primary target and or set of targets in mind, and they did not want to miss out on the opportunity for any of them. Diana Rossini reports today that, not that it should come as a shock, but Brian Dable and Mike McDaniel at the top of that list. I think we've talked about that before. I like McDaniel as an offensive coordinator. I think he's a fucking weirdo overall. But I do like him as an offensive coordinator. I think he would bring a lot of creativity specifically to the run game, which I still think needs to be our bread and butter. I think you'd see us go back to a RPO loaded offense with a lot of motion in it, which is something that I begged and pleaded for all season long, as I know a lot of you did as well. Brian Daboll, not a great tenure as head coach of the Giants, but does have experience with Jalen Hurts when he was the OC in Alabama. So those are Cliff Kingsbury's name keeps popping up. I don't know really what Kingsbury's MO is here. So when I first saw it get reported, I was a little surprised because the first thing I saw was that he had been fired. And I'm like, that's a little rough. But then it comes out later that it was kind of a mutual parting of ways, which makes more sense. And it was with the thought that Kingsbury wanted to pursue other opportunities. Look, Kingsbury was the head guy in Arizona, right? And had a little bit of success there early on, and then it kind of fell apart as Kyler Murray got more and more immersed in Call of Duty. And, Kyler Murray, who still can't reach the Crispix. So then he goes and he's the OC in Washington, and, Jaden Daniels has that monster rookie season with Kingsbury as his OC. This past year was a disaster. Injuries, particularly to Jaden Daniels, where he just could not stay on the field all year. I can't even really call that a sophomore slump. That is much more in the way of the kid just could not stay healthy, which, to be honest with you, and Josh, I know you and I talked about this, I felt like that kid needed to put on weight. And I still feel that way. Like, I don't think he can stay that slight and expect to not get banged up. It's, Lamar Jackson is thin. He's not. It's not that. And like Jaden Daniels he looks more like a basketball player than he does an NFL quarterback. The frame and the build and everything, But look, if it ends up being Dable or McDaniel, I'm good. I guess I would lean McDaniel because I think his focus will be more on the run game. I don't really know Dable, how he would attack it. No matter what, though, it does look like the Birds have their sights set very high, and they expect to bring in an offensive coordinator to change the offensive culture entirely, which, thank God, that's exactly what has to happen, right? This season was a wreck. The fact that we have that much talent on the offensive side of the ball And it was an entire, and the defense played as well as it did outside of a couple of hiccup games, right? Chicago, the first half against the Rams. The fact that the defense was that good and there's that much freaking talent on the offensive side of the ball, the fact that we were still every week, every game was a 4-hour just mess of cardiac arrest because this offense couldn't figure anything out. There is no excuse for it. Season's over now. I'll just let it rip. You guys know, and I said it during the year, I am not big on firing guys during the season. I would have let Patullo go after the damn bye week. Well, at the bye week, right? Leading into it. Look, this ain't working. Get the fuck out. We got to make a change here. And you just do whatever at that point. Once it got later in the year and things still weren't going right, then you can't make the change. Because now you're right up against the playoffs, all this shit, so you're stuck with it. Oof, that was brutal. You look at the playoff game, the bad loss to the Niners, right? And it was a bad loss, right? We should have won that game. I didn't get any help from Jake either, which we'll get to Jakey. Imagine if we had come out and dropped 30 on Sunday and won that game. Patullo probably doesn't lose his job. Even if we do go get beat in the division round, we're probably still stuck with KP next year if we'd have come out and blown the doors off of Frisco. And I'll do you one better. Maybe it's if we'd have blown the doors off of Frisco like we should have and lose in a division round, but don't look bad doing it, right? Patullo probably keeps his job. So, no, there's no such thing as a good loss, especially in the playoffs. But you can't always find silver lining. The fact that offense continued to be that awful against a beleaguered, beat-up San Francisco team, it was enough where they're just like, all right, we're done here. Get out. Like, we're done. Beat it. It's over. Over to the room. Let's see here. Keenan Harmon. We were somewhere near Union Station. We took Amtrak home. Everyone got stuck in Chicago for a day on Amtrak's time. Oh, yeah. I don't know Chicago well enough to know where you might have been. I mean, there's Geno's East. There's Lou Malnati's. I mean, those are kind of your bigger chain Chicago style up there. I'm sure there's standalone places that are fantastic. Russ Taylor, McDaniel's is a weirdo. He'd fit in perfect in Philadelphia. You guys all know. I've been calling McDaniel South Beach Dahmer. He can come be South Street Dahmer too, bro. Like, come fix my offense. Table, but how would that reunion be with Saquon? That I don't think would be a problem, Russ. Saquon's angst was with Joe Shane and Mara, with the ownership and the GM. Dable, I don't think was a problem for Saquon, and Saquon is a professional. If Dable coming in is going to make them better, Saquon's going to dive in. I mean, it is what it is. Keenan, it was Nick's decision to follow Howie and Jeff's directive. Very good. Russ, Kingsbury would love the strip clubs in Philadelphia. Well, Russ again, and direct flights to Thailand. Nice. Josh, do you think any of the prospects will stick around for a while if we succeed? Jalen needs an OC for more than 1 year. Okay, let's stick on that for a minute. And you're absolutely right. And you and I, sitting right here in this living room, have talked about that. This will be the 11th offensive. When we get into next year, it will be the 11th offensive coordinator in as many seasons when you go back to the start of college for Jalen Hurts. That's a lot. And so to Josh's point, we need some stability. So this is where I would worry about Kingsbury more than a Dable or McDaniel. I think Dable and McDaniel are both coming off failed head coaching tenures, like just coming off of it. Whereas Kingsbury's been off for a little bit, showed some prowess as an offensive coordinator with a healthy quarterback, healthy rookie quarterback in Washington. And he may be primed to, if he was to come in and we have a big season, he may be primed to jump ship right away and get back to a head coaching spot. You would think Dable and or McDaniel would also like to do the same thing. My thought with those two is the fact that they are just coming off failed tenures is that, so it may take a year or two before the league reacts to it. And McDaniel is probably going to get another shot before Dable will. Dable, I mean, how old is Brian Dable? Now, McDaniel's only 42 years old. So that's the worry about bringing in McDaniel is he is only 42, and you know he wants to get back to that. And Dable's only 50. It's not like he's old. But 42 versus 50, you would think that they would that McDaniel would get a shot before Dable would. Unless people think McDaniel's just too much of a freaking weirdo. It did not go well. Got it out. Tua is a mess. And the Fish are not a very well run organization. We all know that. Though they did make smart decisions. Firing McDaniel was necessary. Firing the general manager was also necessary. And they did those things. And they brought in Troy Aikman to help them, which is the smartest, some smarter decisions being made down there. So our good friends down in Miami, Lou and Ashley, you've got to be encouraged at least a little bit by what the upper echelon of your organization is starting to do. So I don't know. Look, I think from a scheme perspective, I would rather see McDaniel. If you're worried about somebody sticking around longer, you got a better chance of Dable sticking around longer than Kingsbury or McDaniel, my opinion, anyways. Unless one of them just says, you know what, I was a head coach. It wasn't for me. I'm happy doing this. Like Vic Fangio did. But Vic is from the Philly area, and he's getting older now, so he's happy doing his thing. These guys are a little bit younger. I don't know. That's a tough call. I mean, you want them to stick around no matter who we hire. But unfortunately, the league just doesn't work that way anymore, man. Everybody is after the offensive genius, right? And all three of those guys have had their moments, right? I mean, Kingsbury had the midget in Arizona looking like a good quarterback. Dable actually had Blue's Clues looking at least somewhat competent for a year. And McDaniel had things going well with Tua for a little bit until Tua, unfortunately gets his bell rung too many times. So I think it's a tough call. Offensive coordinators in leading a very successful offense, they tend to get plucked real easy. So you hope you find someone that is just happy doing what we're doing. Keaton Harmon says Richard Sherman said our offense looked like a Ferrari with a Toyota Corolla engine. That might be the best analogy I've heard yet. Lou Mancini, I've been pretty good at not letting the Birds' failures affect me too much recently. That said, I haven't been this deflated since the loss to Tampa Bay after the 0-1 season. Just horrible. And it was, man. It was a really, really shit way to end the year. First of all, anytime you end your season at home, it sucks. But add to the fact that we're better. We're way more talented than that Niners team. And so it's just so obvious that the coaching is the problem. And not the defense. It's that offense that has to get back on track, right? You need better scheme. You need better play calling. And I need Nick Sirianni to stay the fuck out of it. I got to be honest with you. We've seen the first half of 2021 that looked like that. We saw all of 2023 that looked a lot like this. Now we saw this year that looked a lot like this, that looked the way it did. What's the common denominator? Nick Sirianni. There's a chance that this is his offense, and Patullo was just compounding the problem, having coached with Nick for 5 years in Philly. So I don't know. Nick's not going anywhere, and I'm not here advocating for that. But I do think we have to get back to, we need to go hire a professional offensive coordinator, not some promotion from within. I don't want some underling from somebody else's staff. I want an established offensive coordinator with these players, with this loaded offense, because these championship windows don't stay open for very long. All right. And Josh has another question. Also, with stability, do you believe Jalen will look more like the elite quarterback we all feel he can be? All feel he can be, and we've seen him do it. Josh, you know my opinion, and most of these guys do too. I think first half of 21, 2023, and this year, they tried to make Jalen a pocket passer, and he is not a pocket passer. He is improvised. He is on the move. He needs motion in the offense. He needs RPO plays to keep those linebackers honest. Keep him off his ass. Shake things up a bit to free up. I want someone, and you don't have to go back and look at, please don't go back and look at this past Sunday because it's going to make you vomit. But when you get an opportunity, go watch game film of the San Francisco 49ers offense. Look, we all know Brock Purdy is a system quarterback, right? Benefits greatly from that system that Shanahan runs over there. Now, to his credit, Purdy does exactly what he needs to do in that offense, and he looks great doing it. But when you watch the play design and the calls and the scheme and all of that, look at the windows that are created by motion, by crossing routes, by just scheme in general, leading defenders away from an area, so that it's easier for his quarterback to throw the ball into that area. He's not even so much throwing it it's not even so much about to the specific receiver. He's throwing it into a spot, right? And this is something that Kellen Moore was able to establish. It's something that Shane Steichen was able to establish. Jalen Hurts is more comfortable throwing outside the numbers. We all know it. He's just more comfortable there. He'll throw it to the middle of the field. He's just not confident in himself there, and he needs a little help there. Instead, what this regime has done, first half of 2021, 2023, and this year, is they basically just kind of abandoned that portion of the field. So you're telling the defense that they only have to defend out here, and that I can keep my linebackers. And then when you don't then use motion or an RPO style offense, you're also telling the linebackers, I don't have to respect Jalen Hurts' ability to run. I just need to key on Saquon Barkley because Jalen ain't going anywhere. You've turned him into a pocket passer. These are all problems that I fully expect whoever the next offensive coordinator who comes in, I expect those to be fixed. Like day one. Throw out all this shit. This is what they signed Jalen Hurts to that monstrous contract at the end of the 2022 season, which, by the way, clock is ticking. That cap hit is going to start hitting us. I don't know if it's this year or if it's next. I'll pull it up here, but they signed him to that big deal for what makes Jalen Hurts special, and instead, what they've done with these stagnant offenses is try to make him a pocket passer. You're taking away what makes him special and limiting him, and it's annoying. Yeah, so 2026, his cap hit now goes up to 31.9. And then 2027, it's 42.1. Now, it's not horrible when you look at other teams with their quarterbacks, like a Joe Burrow, like a Lamar Jackson, like a Tua. Howie, very much aware of how to massage the cap here. Potential out after in 2028. Yeah. So I mean, and he's not going anywhere. Yeah. So his cap hit 31.9, then 42.1, then 47.5. So I would expect some sort of rework at some point over the next year or two. And look, Jalen's not obligated to, no player is ever obligated to give money back or kick the can or whatever. Shit. There we go. Sorry, guys. So, who else is over here? Keenan Harmon, June 1st, 2027. Scott Calcaterra, is KP still in the organization in a reduced role or altogether out of there? I think he's altogether out. I'm not entirely sure, but there was some I thought I saw something where they may just move him back upstairs, or I think after that you kind of have to let him go. Like, I don't know how you keep him in the building, right? Like, it didn't work. It would be really awkward. Just get him out. Hood Mancini, Jordan Davis had a season. Carter, not so much. I realize he was playing hurt, but who's the priority to keep now? All right. That's fair. We'll start talking about the offseason stuff. So they picked up the option on Davis. So he is under contract. Carter is at the end of year 3 now, where this is where you have to make a decision to pick up the 5th-year option, which would be year after next, or you go ahead and get him signed. You probably save yourself some money by going ahead and getting him signed, right? I think they're going to obviously try to keep this together as long as they can. But we're knocking on the door. You bring up a great point with Carter and Davis. We're also a year away from having to make these 5th-year option decisions on Cooper and Quinion. Nakobe Dean is going to be looking around. You can't keep them together. Reed Blankenship I think Dean and Blankenship are up for it this year. So there's going to be some tough conversations to have this offseason, and I'm going to pull it up now. I'm not going to use my because every time I open up another page, I think because I have to run updates, but let me pull this up because I just posted it the other day. And I'm sorry for the heavy breathing and stuff, folks. I'm starting to get a little congested and starting to come down with something. Okay. Here are our unrestricted free agents. You guys ready for some difficult conversations? Reed Blankenship, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Phillips, Azeez Ojulari, Brandon Graham, although I'm pretty confident he'll just go back into retirement. Josh Uche, whatever. Ogbo, whatever the hell his name is. This one is really concerning. Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra, and Kylan Granson. That's 3 tight ends. So you're going to have to figure something out there. Jahan Dotson, I would imagine he's out the door. A.J. Dillon, probably out the door. Fred Johnson, who I would like to see back. Brett Toth, I could take or leave. Pat Pryor, Sam Howell out the door, and punter Braden Mann. I would bring back the punter for sure. So your tough conversations: Reed Blankenship, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips, who we traded a 3rd-round pick for, but man, if he didn't look like somebody we should have actually given up a 1st-round pick for. And then the one that isn't a free agent, but the one we really got to look at, well, 2 of them. We'll start with the biggest one, and that's A.J. Brown. The drop passes on Sunday were one thing, But to then throw a fit on the sideline when your head coach gets on your case about it, look, he's the head coach. He should go get in your shit when you're dropping passes. To then throw a fit, yell at the coach, and then go sit on the bench and pout, only to drop another ball later. Look, it's tough because what I will tell you is A.J. Brown, if we were to trade him prior to June 1st, the cap hit goes to $41 million. You can't save yourself any money until after June 1st to trade him. So, you're a long way off there. I don't know that they'll do it. You want to bring in a new offensive coordinator, you'd like to have all the weapons there. And especially with, I don't know what the hell this tight end position is going to look like for this offseason. We've got Scott in the room. I don't know if he's talked to Grant at all, but, Goddard, it feels like, look, he just had a big year with the touchdowns, but man, he's just always banged up. We are a few years past the point in Goddard's career where we were with Ertz when we drafted Goddard. We should have probably already drafted another tight end, but I don't know. There's some tough conversations here. Reed, Dean, Phillips, Goddard, Calcaterra, Braden Mann, AJ Brown. AJ Brown is going to be a tough one, guys. I think if you're looking to bring in a new offensive coordinator, I think that's another reason to go get that coordinator now so that person can go start having conversations. AJ quit. Lou right here. TO2, he quit weeks ago from my viewpoint. I mean, I think that's fair. I think it's definitely fair to say that his head crammed way up his ass on Sunday at the most crucial points, dropping passes that it really can't happen in playoff games. But there's another one, guys, and that's Jake Elliott. Look, I love Jakey, but he's becoming a liability, guys. Now, look, if you can't find a suitable replacement, then by all means run it back with Jake. But he's not the automatic kicker anymore, man, and he hasn't been for a while. It still kind of cracks me up when we're driving and they put that little yellow line on the field, the target for the Eagles to get to, for Jake to be able to be in range, the edge of his range. And they still have that as the 61 yards. You guys realize that 61-yard field goal was 2017? It was against the Giants. That was actually the game that kind of shot us on our run the rest of that year through the regular season. That's the game where Odell Beckham scores a touchdown and goes over like he's acting like a dog, like he's pissing on the pylon in the back of the end zone. And then Jakey lines up for the 61-yarder, and it's Odell Beckham standing underneath the goalposts, watching it go over. That was Jakey's career long. He ain't making that kick anymore, man. It might be time to move on from Jake too. Like I said, if you can't find a suitable replacement, then run it back with Jake. But if you can go get, if there's somebody out there to have that might bring in some better fortune, it might be time to look to move on. What up, dude? Liam just got home. But yeah, then AJ. You can't trade him before June 1st, and I think the fair shake is to bring in the offensive coordinator, have that said OC talk to the offense, talk to the stars, and really get a feel for AJ. Like, I don't, I don't think you can just say we have to trade him. So. It's gonna be a difficult offseason with the decisions that they made on some of these players. Do we trade? Do we cut? Like I said, even if the OC comes in and doesn't care for what he hears from AJ, he ain't going anywhere until after June 1st. You trade him before then, you're basically doubling the cap hit. Eagles aren't going to do that. Howie's way too smart for that. All right, over to the room. Scott Calcaterra, please keep Goddard. He had a great season. Of course, I'd love to see Grant stay. So would we. You know how we feel. Keenan, if AJ ever complains about not getting the ball thrown his way for the rest of his career, he should be fine. I think that's totally fair. Scott says, I've not chatted with Grant. He needs a break from it all and some much-needed rest. I couldn't agree more. I'm sure those guys have got to be absolutely worn out and probably still feeling pretty dejected, you know? You win the Super Bowl, you come back to next year, you come flying out of the gates again, record-wise anyways, sputter a bit in the middle of the season, kind of get back on track against a couple of cupcake opponents, and then you're home for your opening round playoff game against a beat-up Niners team. You feel like you should win that game, and you dump it. And so that's got to be really, really rough on these dudes, man. I feel for them. I really do. I don't have any sympathy for A.J. Brown. He can shut up. AJ needs to go read his book and shut up. So those are the difficult conversations coming up, folks. First things first, you got to check the boxes, right? We got to get the offensive coordinator hired. And then you can move on from there to talk about what offensive talent has to stay around. A.J. Brown, Jake Elliott, the offensive line, tight end, obviously needs to be addressed and rather quickly, I would say, with the tight end stuff. That's got to get taken care of pretty fast here. David Loeb, trade A.J. Brown. Yeah, well, we'll see, bud. That's easier said than done. Look, I think the world of Devontae Smith. Those of you that have been around, right on cue a few years ago. You've been with me the whole time here. You know how I feel about Smitty. I feel like he is the most skilled wide receiver on the roster. I think if he was 200 pounds, he'd be the best wide receiver in football. The only thing he lacks is size. His route running is fantastic. His hands are great. His field awareness, the way he's able to contort to make the catch, stay in bounds, but also oftentimes shield himself from a bigger hit. He's an incredibly talented wide receiver. He's just slight. So if you do trade AJ, you're going to need another big body receiver on the other side. AJ's not easy to replace, guys. So it's real easy to come out and say we got to trade him because of what we saw on Sunday and his antics over the last couple of years. And I get it. It's a pain in the ass. But I think that's something for the new offensive coordinator to evaluate and then go talk to Nick and to Howie about how they want the offense to look going forward. You know my stance? We need to get back to where the run game is the focal point. If AJ doesn't want to be a part of that, he wants to bitch about getting his targets, then we should trade AJ Brown. But not until after June 1st because I'm not doubling his fucking cap hit. Okay. We are going to do one more thing here, kids, and then we're going to get out of here for the night. And that is, well, two more things. So decided to do a playoff bracket challenge with my sons, Grady and Liam. We both picked the games. The only one I missed on was, of course, the goddamn Birds. But all three of us missed on that. So coming out of the first week, Dad is 5-1, Grady's 4-2, Liam at 3-3. We've got our picks in for this week. So that's where boner of the week, Scott Calcaterra. I don't know. Kevin Patullo. I don't know. I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into it, man. I thought I was going to have Mason here. So we've been kind of getting away from that a little bit. with some other stuff. AJ Brown is definitely a boner of the week. Let's just call it the Philadelphia Eagles offense altogether. What an absolute disaster. Anyways, what do we got on tap this weekend? Well, we've got some fun stuff this weekend that I am looking very much forward to sitting in my house, chilling out, and just not doing a whole lot of anything. So Saturday, we get Buffalo at Denver. I have picked the Bills to go up to Denver and win that game. Denver live by the sword, die by the sword. I think it's 12 one-score games they played in this year. If they have to get into that kind of fight with Buffalo, I will take Josh Allen over Bo Nix any day of the week. I will take Buffalo to move on. At 8 p.m. Saturday night, San Francisco at Seattle. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the Seahawks to knock off the 49ers. I just don't think San Francisco has enough to go up to Seattle and win that game. Now, I didn't think Frisco had enough to come into Philly and win either, but we had a big glaring deficiency, and that was Kevin Patullo's offense. So I'll take Seattle. I would not lay 7 points, and that's what the spread is right now, but I'll take Seattle. Sunday's games, Houston at New England. I'm going to be honest with you. Right now, I kind of like Houston. I get it with the Patriots. They look good defensively. They look good against a Chargers team that just can't ever seem to get it done in a big spot, postseason, big regular season game. And it almost doesn't even matter whether it was Justin Herbert, Phillip Rivers. They just can't get over it. They just fail in these spots. Houston going to travel up to New England. And look, Houston's offense isn't all that good, but defense travels, dude. And that team gets after the quarterback better than any team in football. I've right now picked Houston. That's the one where I'm kind of leaving myself open to possibly change that as the week goes on. I don't know. Right now, they've got New England by 3. It's in New England, so they're basically calling it a toss-up. Right now, I like Houston. And then the nightcap on Sunday, the Rams at the Bears. I like the Rams better than the Bears, but I'm kind of teetering there as well because that temperature is 18 degrees. And that tells me run game. And if we're going to have a run game type of game, that is a Chicago Bears type of ball game. Right now, I've got the Rams. I do think they're the better team, and I'll probably stick with that. That is your slate for this weekend. And then we get to Monday night, where the national championship is on the line with the 10 seed Miami Hurricanes against number 1 Indiana Hoosiers. Now, look, the first 2 rounds I picked against Miami, and I was wrong. I thought Texas Tech would take care of them. That didn't happen. I thought the Buckeyes would definitely handle business. That sure as shit didn't happen. So when they went up against Ole Miss, I wanted Ole Miss to win. I wanted Ole Miss versus Indiana because then I could be happy with either outcome of the national championship, right? Ole Miss, if they were to win it all, stuff it up Kiffin's ass. Indiana winning the whole thing, it would just be kind of cool, right? They're by and large been a basketball thing for forever. Love what Kurt Signetti's come in there, the culture he's brought in. If you can't root for Fernando Mendoza, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. That kid is special. I just feel terribly for him that he's going to end up with the Raiders. So, look, defense does travel, and Miami's defense is stellar. But this Indiana team, they just look like they're on a mission from God, man. I don't know that anyone can truly stop Fernando Mendoza. And so I don't know that I would lay the 8.5 points, but I would definitely take Indiana on Monday night. And I am rooting for Indiana, although I've called this game convicts versus cigarettes. Should be a fun few days of football. Keenan Harmon pops in here again. Hurricanes just to piss my office mate off. He's a Hoosier grad, and I'm tired of hearing his fucking mouth. Nice. Oh, man. So, bummer we couldn't get Mason on tonight, although I do enjoy my time with you guys when I get the opportunity. Interact with the room a little bit more to fill the time and everything. And you guys always bring it every week. So, Keenan has Broncos, Seahawks, Texans, and Rams. So the only place we defer is Denver, is the Denver game. I've got Buffalo. When you look at Josh Allen, and we'll use this as a closing thought. When you look at Josh Allen, I think he's under the most pressure of anybody in the playoffs this year. Certainly anybody who's left, right? Matt Stafford's got his Super Bowl ring. So it's not like there's no pressure. It's just Josh Allen he's got an AFC playoff where there is no Patrick Mahomes, there is no Lamar Jackson, there is no Joe Burrow, right? It is Josh, and then you've got, the teams that are left. You've got Stroud, who is nowhere near as talented as Josh. You've got second-year quarterbacks in Drake May and in Knicks. Josh is easily the most talented quarterback left standing, I think, in the entire playoff. But without those three that he normally has to deal with, none of them are in the playoffs. So the excuses are gone. The only excuse he does have is he's got to go on the road to get. And I don't think that changes, right? Is that right there? So if he wins, he's the 6. And then, so no matter what, he's got to be on the road. Even if Houston wins, Buffalo would have to travel to Houston. So he's got the most pressure on him of anybody. And we'll see how he responds. I think Buffalo goes up to Denver and gets that victory. May not be pretty, but I think they go up there and get that win. So that's where we are at odds, Keenan. All right, folks, it's been fun. I am going to go try to lay down and get some rest here soon. So feeling a little banged up right now. We'll see what happens as the rest of the week goes on. I have a long couple of days of work coming up, so I have no time to be sick, and yet here I am. Anyways, folks, come on back again next week. Hopefully Mason's got his Wi-Fi issues figured out, and we will get down to, hopefully by next week, we are talking about our new offensive coordinator and what we can expect from him as the offseason progresses. So for all of you in the room, thank you, as always, for being there. You guys are always the best. And those dog days are coming when we're going to need help pushing the show along. But again, come on back again next week. Hopefully we'll have Mason back and hopefully a new offensive coordinator, and we'll get down to that. We'll talk about, the playoff games that did happen this weekend. We'll talk about the National Championship on Monday, and we'll look forward to championship weekend the next round. Until then, folks, this has been the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio, part of the Green Legion Radio family, and proudly brought to you by the beautiful women at Cheerleaders, located at 2740 South Front Street in Philadelphia. Call 215-467-1980 for all of your group and party information. Guys, girls, kids, listening now, watching later, y'all be safe. Have fun. Enjoy your upcoming weekend. Try and stay warm. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Remember, the judge is not back in until Monday. I love you for free. And as always, go Birds.